How do we save our planet? Save our planet. You know, some people, when I say save our planet, think, well, the planet doesn't need saving. It's always going to be here. Well, the operative word is our planet. Not save the planet, save our planet. A planet with a species called Homo sapien. A planet with species that we have grown up with for the last 200,000 years. You know, we're the newest species on the planet, and ultimately it's because of us that 70% of our fellow species are now in the sixth great extinction and slated to go extinct within the next 80 summers. 80 summers. Imagine just having 80 summers left to enjoy life when you've had millions of years and now you're down to just 80. Millions of summers and now finally you're down to your last 80. It's pretty staggering to comprehend that we, the last species on this planet, is ending the game for so many. And it seems that it's only fitting for us to try to stop it, right? To try to bring about the change in order for this to not happen. Well, in order to bring about the change, you have to understand the problem. And I believe most people don't grasp the problem. You see, most of the crisis and the challenges facing our planet are just systemic outcomes of the problem. Think of it this way. When I am sick, I show certain symptoms. Those symptoms are systemic of the problem itself. They may not be the issue, right? There may be an underlying cause to that sickness or illness that unless we treat that underlying cause, then we can't change or fix the illness. We can just kind of like putting band-aids on, on a cut that needs stitches. And it's taken me over 4 years to figure out what this underlying problem is. It's called the business model, our business model. The model that drives our one economy, the model that drives innovation, the model that drives governments, that drives everything, that drives our businesses worldwide. That model is endemically flawed. Now, what do I mean by endemically flawed? Endemic means the failure is basically built into the very thing. It's endemic to it. So when you have an endemic problem, you can't fix it, right? In order to fix it, you have to usher in something completely new. If the problem is systemic, then you can actually change the system and fix it, right? It's built into it. So in order for us to change our current business model, we have to usher in a new one. If I was to then describe that the current business model is the startup business model, right? That's the business model. And that in order to change it, we have to usher in something called the found-up business model. Then we can bring about the change needed. You see, if we fail to do this, we risk everything. We risk everything. We risk our planet, our species, and I'm not the only one saying this. Jeremy Rifkin, Peter Gilding, and a host of others, individuals. All you have to do is Google, end of growth, collapse of growth, and you can hear these talks. And they're all talking about, even though they're not saying it, that the failure in our system is our business model, which I just simply call the startup. So I have a lot of talks on foundups.com explaining how to fix the model. In essence, the current model goes like this. I have an idea, I connect to capital networks, those are people with access to capital, and I launch my idea. Because I launched my idea, I reward significant, over 30% of the net profits will go to these small VCs. 30% will go to a small, select few, right? These small, select few repeat the cycle, repeat the cycle, repeat the cycle. The reason why we have runaway inequality comes down to our business model, the startup. And ultimately what happens is you have a system of launching innovation by the few for the benefit of the few. Now you may argue, well, you know, you're helping customers with certain problems, but what happens is, in this current paradigm, is the customer becomes an enabler. If you want to think of the problem kind of like the alcoholic, think of the startup as the alcoholic, and think of the folks that allow the alcoholic to continue as the enablers. That's us. So we buy the products. You know, we shop the cheap goods. And all the time we enable these corporations to go out and rape our limited resource planet. We allow them to produce so many plastic bottles that now we have 40% of our oceans covered in plastic sludge. We have 50% of our coral reefs gone. That represent 25% of our ocean fish species and up to 70% of the diversity in our ocean. We have practically every large fish now in the last, I like to use summers, okay? In the last 30 to 60 summers are now virtually at a point of extinction. The tuna and the large fish we're eating are the babies. They're not fully grown. We're eating the babies. And the moment when you stop eating fish that cannot reproduce marks the end of a species, right? And that's what we're doing to our oceans. You know, all we have to do is look at our rivers. And what we've done to our rivers is what we're doing to the ocean. It's going to take longer, but we're doing it. We have to change. We have to change. And the only way to change is to change the very model that all of this current system is propped up on. We have to change the startup. And how do we do that? Well, it's simple. We introduced something called foundups. Foundups are bottom up, they're selfless, they're the anti-startup, as someone coined, the anti-startup. These startups are launched in an open platform where anyone can participate and help launch it. Now we're seeing validation of this with Kickstarter and Indiegogo, where these current startups, because they're closed, raise millions of dollars in order to launch their widget. Now imagine if we can launch companies, not widgets, that are committed to reinvesting 80% of their net profit. So imagine we help someone launch their widget, they make all of this net profit, but imagine if 80% had to go back into launching more foundups. And imagine if foundups focused on ideas for helping to save the planet, not for ideas for helping to make you rich and make you rape the planet and make a few, filthy rich in return, like Facebook or Google or Microsoft or Halliburton or all these other, Monsanto. All of these things are closed corporations. Imagine instead, by doing so, we remove the need and the requirement of something called accredited investors. We remove them. They no longer become essential for starting ideas. And the moment we launch our first corporation that does that, and you can help support and launch that just by going to foundups.com and supporting launching the first open corporation, what I call a P2P open corporation. We launch a corporation that's going to launch multiple corporations, all doing the same thing, all fueling our net profits back into launching more. So the idea of free solar for the people, by the people, a calm solar startup will happen. There's no reason why, for example, why we can all have free power in our homes. There's absolutely no reason. Why? Because that sun lies outside of our system, right? We live in a closed system except for our energy. So our energy is the first thing that we need to take advantage of. It's outside of our system. So giving away people free power is doable. Imagine that we could do that. We could. And once I get to like $2,000 a month, I want to start giving away every month free solar panels to people doing FoundUps, kind of like a game. The other thing I'm doing on FoundUps is that 80% of the funds, up to 80%, it's on a scale and you can read about it, is going to be distributed to folks launching as FoundUps. Now, one of the things that I'm looking to do now is to develop and launch our web platform called foundups.com. Currently, it's hosted on Patreon. So imagine a platform dedicated just for launching FoundUps. So you can help me save the planet by introducing a new business paradigm called FoundUps and replace the old paradigm called startups. It's up to you. I need $1 from you. Not $10, not $100, $1. That's it. $1 a month will help launch foundups.com. Thanks.